The NFL's been hiding secrets they don't want you to know, from blackmailing players to rat-infested locker rooms.
The Jags have rats in their laundry.
The team has known about those issues pertaining to the rats.
Dead rodents and 159 rodent droppings.
Players getting huge bonuses to injure other players.
Kill the head, the body will die.
And it all starts with the biggest cover-up in NFL history. In 2002, forensic pathologist Dr. Bennett Omalu examined the brain of former Steelers center Mike Webster, and what he found changed football forever. CTE, a degenerative brain disease linked to repeated head trauma. Omalu's discovery should have sparked reform. Instead, it sparked war. The NFL formed the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee, a group of league-picked doctors who downplayed the risks of repeated hits. They rejected Omalu's work, attacked his credibility, and flooded the media with misinformation. The damage was already done. Dozens of players, from Junior Seau to Aaron Hernandez, were posthumously diagnosed with severe CTE. Boston University researchers identified CTE in 96% of NFL players they had examined and in 79% of all football players. Behind closed doors, players were being pumped with Toradol, a powerful painkiller nicknamed vitamin T, to keep them on the field despite concussions. In a 2002 paper, 28 out of 30 teams admitted to using Toradol overwhelmingly. These drugs masked pain, enabling players to return too soon and creating a culture where playing hurt became the norm. By 2013, the players had had enough. Over 4,500 former NFL players sued, accusing the league of burying damaging evidence and forcing players back onto the field. This included $3 million for dementia cases, $4 million for those diagnosed posthumously with CTE, and up to $5 million for Alzheimer's sufferers. The total sum awarded to NFL players, $765 million. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the NFL was caught red-handed. See, the league didn't want to pay the full amount, so they rigged the payout system with a method called race norming. This method made it harder for black retirees to qualify for dementia or brain damage concussion settlements by assuming they had lower cognitive abilities to begin with. Compared to white players, black players had to show a bigger decline to qualify for the same help. Take former Steelers running back Najee Davenport. Doctors told him he had clear signs of brain trauma, but because of his race, the league deemed it not severe enough. And once word leaked, fans were furious. Over 50,000 petitions were dropped on the Philadelphia courthouse steps demanding change. It took public pressure, lawsuits, and national outrage for the NFL to finally agree to stop the practice. But by 2021, it was already too late. Years of payouts had already been denied. More than 2,000 players filed dementia claims, and fewer than 600 got paid. And that's only one of the secrets the NFL was hiding. See, on January 24, 2022, Bill Belichick sent former Dolphins coach Brian Flores a congratulatory text message for landing the Giants' head coaching job. There was only one small problem. Flores had yet to be interviewed. His interview was in 2 days. Bill Belichick sent the text to the wrong Brian. He meant to send the text to Brian Daboll. So why interview Flores if the Giants had already chosen Daboll? Enter the Rooney Rule, which requires NFL teams to interview at least one minority candidate for head coaching and senior football operations roles. It was designed to give minority coaches a real shot. But over the years, teams have twisted it into a box-checking formality. In other words, the Giants were simply following Rooney Rule protocol, when in reality, Flores never had a chance. And that's when Flores decided to put the league on blast. He filed a federal class action lawsuit accusing the NFL of systemic racism in hiring. After all, this wasn't the first time he was overlooked or outright ignored. Back in 2019, Flores interviewed with the Broncos. According to the lawsuit, then GM John Elway and CEO Joe Ellis arrived an hour late, looked disheveled, and seemed like they'd been drinking the night before. It became painfully clear they had no real interest in hiring him. But that's not even the most disturbing part of the lawsuit. Despite leading Miami to back-to-back winning seasons, Flores was fired after the 2021 season. Why? Because he refused to tank. During the 2019 season, owner Stephen Ross desperately wanted the #1 pick to draft LSU's Joe Burrow. So desperate, he allegedly offered Flores $100,000 for every loss. When he refused to throw the games, Ross was mad that Flores was compromising the draft position. When Ross invited him onto his yacht to meet said quarterback, quote, by accident, Flores walked away. Between sham interviews, owner bribery, and concussion cover-ups, you might think the NFL scandals stop at the top. But the dysfunction, it trickles all the way down to the locker room floor. Literally. In Jacksonville, the players weren't just battling opponents, they were dodging rats in their own stadium. According to an NFLPA survey of over 1,700 players, the Jaguars earned a near-failing grade in almost every category, from nutrition to family treatment. But the biggest headline, rats were running rampant in the locker room and laundry hampers for 3 to 4 weeks during the season. But it doesn't stop with rats. Players' wives were forced to nurse newborn babies on the floor of a public restroom because the Jaguars didn't offer a family room at the game. A league that profits billions off its family-friendly image left moms on bathroom floors, and the Jaguars are just the beginning of the problems. The Bengals don't serve dinner to their players. The Cardinals charge their own players for meals at the facility, and the Commanders don't offer warm water showers. However, the most toxic story in NFL lives inside the Commanders' front office. Now, before we get to the Commanders' cheerleaders, we want to give a huge shout out to Terry for joining the Huddle Up channel. And if you want to be entered into our video shout out giveaway, simply subscribe, then comment "I subbed," and you'll be entered into our next video. For years, the NFL knew something shady was happening. Witnesses claimed that cheerleaders were secretly filmed while undressing, employees were followed by drones and ex-FBI agents, and victims were offered hush money to stay silent. NFL Special Counsel Lisa Friel even admitted Snyder's actions were conduct detrimental to the league. But what did the NFL do? Absolutely nothing. When former GM Bruce Allen testified, he revealed that Dan Snyder hired private investigators to tail him when he moved into a new home. His obsession didn't stop there. He allegedly tried to dig up dirt on NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and bragged to peers, "I've got enough on the other owners to blow it all up." Still, in 2020, attorney Beth Wilkinson led a 2-year investigation into Washington's workplace culture. Her findings never released. That's because the NFL signed a common interest agreement with Snyder. In other words, they protected each other. According to Congress, the NFL refused to hand over 40,000 documents and claimed cooperation, while supply only press clippings. But after interviewing more than 150 current and former employees, she found it to be a, quote, highly unprofessional workplace that exposed employees, particularly women, to intimidation and harassment. This caused the NFL to fine the Commanders $10 million. However, the fine was merely negotiated by Snyder's lawyers and paid half to charity in a way that allowed him to take a tax deduction. That's when the U.S. House Oversight Committee got involved. And in December 2022, they dropped a 79-page bombshell claiming Dan Snyder permitted and participated in a toxic workplace, and the NFL helped cover it up. Worst of all, Snyder dodged all accountability from a yacht. He testified remotely from his luxury yacht, claiming, "I can't recall," repeatedly when asked about harassment, NDAs, and hiring private investigators to stalk ex-employees. Dan Snyder may have sold the Commanders for over $6 billion, but his legacy is forever tarnished. But not every single dirty secret is buried in lawsuits. Some are in plain sight, and they've been gripping footballs for decades. Back in the 1970s, catching a football wasn't just about skill, it was about glue? The infamous Stickum era turned players like Fred Biletnikoff and Lester Hayes into walking fly traps. They slathered themselves in a thick paste made of paraffin, alcohol, and resin. Socks, jerseys, even face masks were caked in the funk. Equipment managers had to scrub uniforms for hours with paint thinner just to get it out. And it worked. Hayes won Defensive Player of the Year. Biletnikoff made the Hall of Fame. But in 1981, the NFL stepped in and banned Stickum for good. Or so they thought. You see, when Jerry Rice entered the NFL in 1985, he had a whopping 15 drops.
Jerry Rice, touchdown!
He was one of the league's top route runners, but struggled to catch the ball. That's when he got desperate and turned to Stickum. Rice later admitted in an interview that he used stickum on his gloves throughout his career, long after it had been outlawed. But here's the wild part. All the receivers were doing it, Rice claimed. And if the greatest receiver of all time was using a banned substance to gain an edge, what does that say about the rest of the league? Talk about sticky situations. Cutting corners can get a pass until it blows up on national TV. See, in 2012, the NFL locked out its official referees over a labor dispute, refusing to pay pension benefits to save money. Instead, they brought in replacement refs from lower-level college games and even high school leagues. The results? Chaotic, blown calls, and utter confusion. But it all reached a boiling point between the Packers and Seahawks on Monday Night Football and gave two different calls. One signaled touchdown, the other touchback. Caved and reached a deal with the real refs 3 days later, but it revealed something bigger. The league was willing to risk its reputation and competitive fairness to save a few bucks. Ending player careers? The New Orleans Saints have a history of trying to do it.
Till the day in which Yahoo Sports published a detailed description of the Saints' plans to injure opposing players.
From 2009 to 2011, the Saints weren't just playing football, they were placing bounties. An internal slush fund was set up where between 22 and 27 players were paid bonuses for injuring opponents. They were paid $1,500 to take someone out of the game and $10,000 if it was in the playoffs. And in the 2009 NFC Championship against Brett Favre, Saints defenders crossed the line in a disgusting way. They delivered hit after hit until Favre's ankles were black and blue. After the game, Vikings staff counted 13 dirty shots. NFL insiders called it football's version of a hit list. The mastermind behind it all, defensive coordinator Greg Williams, who was caught on audio urging his players to go after Frank Gore's head. Kill the head and the body will die, he stated.
Before you get off the pile, affect the head.
We want him running sideways. We want his head sideways.
He also told his squad to target Michael Crabtree's ACL, which is beyond concerning. In the aftermath, Sean Payton was suspended for the entire 2012 season, and Greg Williams was suspended indefinitely. The Saints were also forced to forfeit 2 of their second-round draft picks. Safe to say, that is the ugly side of the NFL. But while the NFL has its dirty secrets, it's still America's game, and there is no player more American than this kid from Iowa who's now a Super Bowl champion.